Greetings, dear brothers and sisters, dear sons and daughters in the light. How wonderful it is to see you all here. How wonderful it is to have you in our beautiful company. For tonight we will give you a grand feast of higher knowledge and higher wisdom and greater guidance. I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, and I am here from incredibly high spaces to welcome you here. And not only to welcome you here in this physical realm here at this moment, but also to the people who will be visiting us on YouTube later on. For how grand it is that we can include everybody. And how wonderful it will be the day that many, many thousands will begin to accept my presence here upon this plane with my channel, Suzanna Emmanuel. And how wonderful it will be on that day when they begin to recognize the great light, and how important it is to recognize my presence with you at this time. So we always say, blessed are those who see the light. Blessed are those who are recognizing these words, for these words are great. And these words are fine. And when you live in the light on this high level, then your blessings will be so great. Your blessings and your steps will be so great. And when you desire to have more healings in the higher spaces, then more healings will come. More guidance will come. More blessings will come. And in your heart, you will feel the blessings. In your heart, you will feel the love. In your heart, you will live. For in the heart it speaks of wisdom and it speaks of truth. And when one learns to access the heart greater, then all this rich knowledge will come to that one, because this is a journey of remembering the great divine light. It is a journey of remembering what truth is, because it is already within your beings. So how great this time is. So this evening so much information will be poured out from our realms to your realm. And how wonderful it is that you are living in a time now where you can learn to access higher wisdom and higher guidance. And each time you come here, you're recognizing it. You're feeling it within your heart. And we are working very hard at making this a progression forward, steadily, smoothly, but not too much. And every time you come here, you're learning new points. You're accessing new information. But this new information is not new at all, because it is very, very ancient. But it may be new to your ears in this lifetime. But in your heart, you understand it and you recognize it. So I will allow myself to step back now for a few moments, and Sarah will come through, who is from the Pleiadian realms. And she will come through for you with a brief message and also a blessing, because the Pleiadians of love are so much a part of your evolution and your growth at this stage. And then I shall return with a beautiful lesson. Greetings, I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. Akumoha Halima. Greetings. I am Sarah, Pleiadian Master, Pleiadian Guide, Pleiadian High Priestess. Ashi Enukuya. I am so glad you have joined us in these spaces. When people join us in these spaces, we celebrate your existence with our existence. For this time is so beautiful when the people on the earth listen, and when they hear, and when they learn to flow with the greater light. If all people learn to flow with love in their hearts, then only love would exist upon your plane. If all people learned how to celebrate their lives with themselves and with each other, then there would be no war and there would be no pain. It is in the confusion and the fear and the anger that only the pain exists. But when you remove the pain from your plane and live in the existence of love, then only love will exist upon your plane. It is so said in the ancient Pleiadian times. When the one learns the wisdom of the light and lives with the wisdom of the light, then only light can exist, because all is light, all around you is light, and then light from the higher dimensions will reflect back upon your dimension. And we encourage you to think about that and to ponder upon it, and each day make a resolution to yourself to live with more light in your life. For the greater the light reflects in your life with your thoughts, the higher the reflection of love comes back from the universe to you. I will allow a beautiful prayer to be given to mankind. Imagine if we are sitting in the temples on the Pleiadian realms at this moment. And imagine there are many of us, and we are holding you in our vision. And in our vision there is only love and peace upon your plane. And we are now bringing these blessings to you through the mind of the Pleiadians. Imagine that. And as you are listening to this, please imagine it and visualize it so you can be part of this great vision for mankind. Thank you for participating in this. Akomoha Halima. Greetings. I am Sarah, Pleiadian Master, Pleiadian Guide, Pleiadian High Priestess. Greetings. Greetings, and how wonderful it is that you are here with us. I am Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. And each time you are here with us, we give you a blessing. especially for the ones who've chosen to be with us at this very time of this recording and this channel session. We want to extend a grand welcome to you, a grand blessing to you. For we understand your time is a sacrifice, and you could have chosen to stay at home with your beautiful families or do something that truly helps you in another way, and yet you came here to this grand meeting. And it is a grand meeting this evening, and it is a grand time that you are living in. So this is why this is so important. So we would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to come here. We recognize that, friends. And when we recognize that, we ask you to recognize how important you are and how important your life is and how important it is that you are living here in this sacred, sacred time. This is a time when deeper revelations are coming, and we promise that the times of the deeper revelations is here, and more revelations will come into the future as you advance in your evolution and your deeper consciousness. For we can only ever open you up to certain amounts of knowledge until you reach another stage of your evolution. And when you grow into the higher evolution, then higher knowledge will come upon your plane once again. It is always the people who must ask for the light revelations to come before the light revelations come to your plane. It is always like this, and it has always been like that. You have a choice, a great choice. You are living in a universe of freedom. When you desire to understand deeper revelations, when you desire to understand how to become free from all pain, this is when greater light revelations come to your plane. When you reach a higher consciousness, then the higher revelations will come to your plane to assist you up. And how beautiful it is that we can do this progressively. If we were going to give you everything in one go, friends, it would be too great, because the divine plan is so complex and it has so many angles to it. And you and your beautiful human mind can only comprehend one angle at a time. So when you hear different teachings come through, please understand that there are many angles at looking at the same topic, at the same subject, at the same spiritual knowledge. So when you hear something being spoken and then you hear another angle, please understand that we are teaching it from a whole other perspective to help you to see another angle. And this helps you to broaden your mind space. And when the mind space is highly activated, you are ready for higher knowledge. So during these channel teachings, it is also time for our training for the mind. So it's not only about helping you to understand deeper knowledge on a spiritual level, but also helping you to activate your higher mind capacity to help you understand higher thoughts and higher understandings and higher evolution. And all the masters are working on the same plan. Please understand that. All the masters, friend. And we have one part, one thought in mind, whether it is through myself, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, through Cryon, through all the other beautiful archangels, through all the beautiful teachings that we bring through the channels on our planet. It's all to do with the great divine plan. Because because this is so important. And during these times, during all your history, we make certain that the great flames of the divine fire was kept alive. And this is so important for you to understand and to recognize this incredibly important time that you are living in. What times are you living in, friends? Why is this so important? Because you are living in times of the great awakening consciousness, when you are going to see great revelations come to your plane, and you are going to see acceleration of evolution. And this in itself has been part of the great divine plan. Step by step, we are guiding you towards the great alignment, to become more in alignment with divine will, so that all becomes in perfection. And you are taking a great part in this just by being you, by you being upon this earth, by you being part of life. You are doing so much, and this is why we celebrate your lives. We celebrate your existence. We celebrate you being here in this very era of time. You are here living in the awakening times. The light needed to always stay alive upon this plane in preparation for the greater time of the light. Many prophets and healers came in times when the planet was in darkness to keep the gates open, and many light workers and many people who loved the light and loved the truth, they came also to keep the fires alive upon this plane, to keep the gates open for the grand awakening time. This is how much it meant to you, friends. You know from a higher level how important this is. And you came here willingly to take part in all history, to be part of the ones who kept the gates open. And so you came time and time again. And oftentimes, in times of darkness, you were tortured in many ways. And yet you kept coming back. Why? Because you know that the spiritual levels are far more important and far more valuable than the physical existence. For the physical existence is only but a part, but it's such an important part. It is a part that plays in your evolution, not only in your human evolution. Please understand that, friends. Not only in your human evolution, but in your spiritual evolution. And on a spiritual level, you are evolving greatly. You are understanding greatly. You are understanding why this is such an important time. Because when you help to evolve each other, when you learn to understand the sacred times you are in and how important it is to come together collectively, you can bring in that greater love. This is why you've worked so hard for many lifetimes. Can you begin to comprehend this, friends? You have worked so hard. You have come to this plane and worked so hard to learn not only the human journey as in pain and suffering, but also to keep the flames lit, to keep your flame lit, to prepare the way for the great flame. So on the way there were many prophets and many healers who came, always preaching to the people, always guiding the people to greater light, always keeping those gates open, always bringing in the greatness. And the last time when these gates were being held open so much was 2,000 years ago approximately, when I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, was using my channel Jesus upon this earth. And he opened many gates together through me. He was a portal opener. And he would often go to sacred places, and he would be together with the angels and open those higher gates. That was part of his sacred journey. That was part of what he did. He would often go away from the people, and he would be guided towards higher places where he could begin to be instructed on higher levels. And he knew that he took place. He knew that he took part in this sacred work of opening higher gates for people into the future. Now, my channel Jesus was a very hard worker, friends. He worked so hard, tirelessly, that people on this earth plane saw him as a man. To him he was a man, a wonderful healer, a wonderful channel, but a man who got frustrated at times, a man who showed his anger, perhaps not in public, but there were those of his friends, and they knew his anger very well. You might not believe it. You might say, Jesus, he was a perfect man. He always had perfect self-control. But then we would like to help you to understand that Jesus was a man who was frustrated with people not listening. He would often go out into the desert and he would sit by himself and he would say, Master, they are not listening. I'm screaming at them. Listen to these higher teachings. And yet they do not listen. And I would go and say to beautiful Jeshua, get up. Go back. Travel back. Go back to the cities. Speak about the light, because the light is so important. You need to do this work, because if you do not do it, then how else will the people learn? How else will the people comprehend that there is something much greater? So he went back. He was very frustrated with his work, as you can imagine. He didn't have a computer to type out his beautiful books. He had to write them down. He was a writer, friends. He wrote so many volumes. And many of them were destroyed. Many of them were set alight with fire to make sure that his words were not repeated over and over again. And so the many experiences that he had that were recorded were destroyed. But some of them remained guarded, and some of them are very important even to your day. So this is how the stories became told from person to person, because Jesus himself was a recorder. He recorded day to day. We, as his holy angels, asked him to keep a diary of everything that happened on a day-to-day basis. So you could always see him writing. Many people, especially children, who saw this beautiful channel writing, they would often say, Jeshua, what is it that you are writing about? And he would say, I'm in the quiet here. I like to write. I like to think about everything that has happened. I like to describe you as a child coming to me right now and asking me, what is it that you are doing, Jeshua? I like to relate the story of how I healed that elderly man sitting over there who couldn't walk this morning and now he's walking. I like to relate that because one day the minds might forget, but the words stay forever. And so the people related stories. They were very good at repeating stories over and over again. And often you would see this beautiful man sitting with the children. And the children would say to him, "Please, Jesus, tell us the stories about your Father." And Jesus would open up in all his beauty and would say, "The Father loves you so much." It is the simple child that he speaks to, incredibly much so, because your hearts understand the simpleness. It is in the simple ways that you can understand love and truth. The people who have grown up, child and children, their minds are too complicated. They think too much on the heaviness of the people, and they think too much about everything that needs to be done. But your minds are so open. Know that the Father in the heavens is rejoicing with you because of your simpleness. I only will say, I want all people to learn like the children, because the children are so wise within themselves. And this is how he taught. Isn't it beautiful how he taught? He taught the people to always be in the love, friends, to be in the love, and yet they knew that he was just a man. He was just a man. He was sad. He was angry. He got frustrated. He was happy. But he always taught of love. He knew how to forgive very, very well. When he got angry, he knew what it was, and he would say to the masters, "Masters, clear me, for it is not my anger any more now. I let it go with love." And thus he would live his life. But he went through all the human emotions, and this is so important for you to understand who Jesus was, how important his life was upon this plane, and what he was here to do. So you already understand some of his personality. He was always of love. The people loved him, and yet he was also tired. At times he wanted to go away, but the people called him, "Jesus, speak, speak," and he would. But then he would go away on his own for a few days to be left alone and to be in meditation and in deep meditation with myself as Lord Emmanuel and with all the other angels. So we always praised him, and we always carried on teaching him of the higher fields, of the higher love, of the higher teachings. And his wisdom was great. He understood that he was already a very highly evolved being in the heavens. He knew what his purpose was, and that purpose was to keep the fire of the divine glory alive upon this plane, for he also knew that the great darkness would come upon this plane and would try and take the light away, and he already knew this, and he knew that his time upon this plane was so important for you here in this awakening time, in this awakening consciousness, in this awakening era. And if it hadn't been for that time, then you couldn't have been guided towards this time here, because that gate would have been closed. So that was why Jesus came. Was it to evolve higher as a human being? Well, human beings always evolve higher with knowledge, understanding, suffering. But on a spiritual level, no, he wasn't there to evolve higher as a human being, because in the higher heavens, he was unblemished. He held no karma. Please understand that. He came here, sent from the divine light, to be with the people, to keep the gates open. He himself never claimed to be the Messiah or the Savior. He never claimed it. Other people did, but he never claimed it. He never said that he was the Messiah. He knew that he was here for a very important reason, and it was to bring the teachings from the divine here to the people, to teach them how to be in their hearts, to teach them the ways of freedom, to bring the love, to free them from their bondage, to free them from their limited thoughts. But he was also here to open up higher portals. That was another part of his work. But that part of the work you cannot find in the scriptures. But that was part of his work. He opened many gates, friends. He opened so much knowledge. He was a great being. And how thankful we as divine beings are when people voluntarily come to this plane like this as a highly evolved being, not needing to come to planet Earth, but to do this willingly to set the people free. Please understand that. On a spiritual level, however, we will say that he was the Messiah, although he will never claim that. He never claimed that because his journey was to help to set the people free. Understand that. So from a spiritual higher point of view, we will say he had that because he set the people free on a certain level. Did he set the people free with his crucifixion? Well, again, here it goes into another teaching. And if I was going to bring through the full story of what happened on that day, you would have a whole lot of controversy upon this plane. So I will briefly go into this, but I will not explain the full story. I will bring this through another time when more ears are open to the fullness of it. Please understand that, because we also respect where you are at this moment. But I do want to state that he did not die on that day. Please understand that. He carried on his missionary work afterwards. Though in secret it was, he carried on. And there were many cover-ups during that time. Please understand that. But his job was not finished on that day. His job was not finished on that day. He carried on. And he carried on, opening up greatness. He carried on, friends. That part was only such a small part of his human journey. He had so much more work to do. And this is how beautiful it is when beings willingly come to this earth plane, volunteering as ascended beings to open up higher knowledge for you. Do you recognize this? Do you recognize how sacred this knowledge is? Do you recognize how sacred this time is? Because I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, I promised that I would return. How will you return? Will we see you on the clouds, the people asked. Will we see you with the signs in the heavens? Will we hear your voice booming through the skies? And I, as Lord Emmanuel, through my channel, Jesus said this. As you see this channel standing here, as you hear the words being spoken here, I shall return again like this. So everyone had the impression then that Jesus, as in the man, as in the being that he was back then, was going to return again and bring through the same teachings. But then we ask you, please open your mind a little more. Because people come and people go. And here I've come through this beautiful channel, Suzanna, Maria, Emmanuel. And what do you see in front of you? You see a human being. A human being who was also sent from the divine realms, who's also here to bring many people to freedom. Her mind cannot comprehend this, friends. We are opening up her ancient memories, and they're very, very great. And at times she cries, "Oh, I wish you would go away," she says. "I wish you would give this to someone stronger, because here I am just a woman. Please keep my humanness in mind." But we say, "Suzanna, it is time. It is time to bring this to the people, and they will accept." And she will say, "Lord Emmanuel," she speaks to Cryon also, "how can the people accept this? This is too big. It's too big for the people." And we say to her, "Have faith in the people." For many people saw these times of Jeshua, and they will recognize the same master through you, Suzanna. They will recognize the strength, the passion, the power, and the teachings. And they will especially recognize the energy. And they will feel it, Suzanna. Trust in the universe a little more. But it is a lot that we are asking you to do. So here in this beautiful space, she is well away. And we are deep within her. And she can channel on this level because she's done it so often before. Not only on this plane. Please understand that. This human dimension that she's lived in is only so small compared to all the other dimensions she's been in here. She has had lives of millions and millions and millions of lifetimes. All for the great purpose of bringing everything into sacred alignment with my divine will and with my Father. And I am part of the great Father. The great Father is so great. Please understand. It is so great. The source is so great. He cannot speak directly through a channel. If he was going to speak directly through a channel, the channel would not be able to hold that magnificence. It's too great. So because the great source in all his divine glory wanted to bring this to the people, to all the other beings, and he wanted to bring everything into alignment for further expansion in the greater universes, he needed to split a part of itself. And that part became the Word. And that part became the Word, and the Word became manifest. And so when I, as Lord Emmanuel, speak, it is not my own words, but it is of the Father who has sent me. Because I am part of the greater Father, but I need a channel. Because I, as Lord Emmanuel the Great, cannot be in a human form because my being is too great. So we created a channel. We created a line. We created a magnificence. And we needed a volunteer up there in the realms of light. And a great soul came to us, unblemished, unblemished. And we trained this line, this channel, this soul so hard. And here it is upon this plane. Do you recognize it? It's so important for people to begin to recognize the spiritual truth, and yet there will be many there who are watching this at this moment and they say, how can this be? How can that be? We say to you, could spiritual truth not be so beautiful that we could create this for you? And how else are you going to learn, friends? How else are we going to guide you to the greatness? There is no other way. There is no other way. We need to pull you up out of the limitation. We need to help you evolve up higher. And how else can it be? How else? Please tell us that. And if you have the great answer, then we're well open to that. But we, from this high point of view, from a spiritual master's point of view, we cannot see the answer other than bringing a divine channel here to this plane who has worked in many lifetimes, speaking truth and speaking light and bringing these same teachings through on your plane and in other realms also, so that everything understands alignment. Can you see the perfection in this? Can you see how beautiful this sacred truth is? Can you see the divine planning? And many will say here, but Suzanna, she looks only human. We say as divine masters, and I will say to you as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, please be grateful that she came here in a human self and that she learned to suffer. Now, on a karmic level, she didn't need to suffer. She is completely unblemished. When something is unblemished in the higher realms, it cannot be blemished. Once something is so ascended, nothing can taint it. And here she chose to come here, and has she suffered? She suffered greatly. With many people close to her, she suffered greatly. But at this high evolved level, she has chosen to shift the karmic issues of many others also. And at this high level, people can. Once you evolve to a higher level, you can come back and choose to shift karmic issues for others. So doing this, she's not only helped many others, but also she has learned the ways of life. She has learned suffering. And in this lifetime, the suffering needed to be so great for a small moment. And we call this a moment. To her, it's many years. But to us, it is a small moment in time before we awakened her and before we will begin the greater awakening within her, because what we've awakened her to is only this little bit. And we have a lot of work to do, but we have to keep in mind her human self, friends, because emotionally she needs to cope, even though she's finding it so hard, because we are truly bringing her to light in many ways now. If you saw her as her divine angelic self, she would not be able to teach you from a human point of view. She would not be able to understand fear, anger, pain, suffering, death. How could she be here then, healing many people? She could not. She needed to come here as a human self, just like Jesus. Just like Jesus. Learning the ways of the human self, and then open up to the grandness. And then open up to the ways of love. It is the only way to push mankind further. You need a human being to do that. But on higher levels, she is greatly evolved. And she did not need to come here. We keep telling her that also. Suzanna, you volunteered. Do you know how difficult that is for her to hear? You volunteered. She will say, Lord Emmanuel, I'd rather have a cozy place in the realms of light, because I remember that very well. That to her is warm and it's love, and she remembers it. She needs to be here, helping many. But we keep her grounded, we keep her anchored, and we keep her in a human self perspective. And she has beautiful children she loves, and that's to keep her centered remembering her divine purpose is here upon this plain at this moment. So these times are about awakening what this information is about, friends. It's about helping you to understand greater revelations. It's about helping you to understand that there is greatness coming, more revelations, more healings, more great divine understandings that will come upon this earth for mankind. But are you open to it? Are you hearing these words? Are you recognizing divine glory? Here upon this plane, you are living in a universe of freedom. You can choose to deny this. You can choose to deny and say, well, Sovereign Lord Emmanuel isn't really here. What I'm hearing is not really true. I believe that channel isn't really there. Lord Emmanuel is so great, he can't possibly come through a channel. And if Suzanna was so evolved, she wouldn't have all this pain and suffering in her life. I don't believe it. You can choose that. Or you can decide to choose the truth. It was exactly the same in Jesus' lifetime also. Many people called him crazy. There he was, standing in front of people. And he opened his voice and he began to speak. Listen to the words in the heavens, friends. For the Father is here with you, teaching all this truth and divine glory. Are you listening to these divine teachings? This is what Jesus said. Half the people walked away. They didn't want to hear. About 50% of the people, they said, oh, that's rubbish. Who's the Father anyway? Teaches more about the Father. Who's this imaginary friend you've got, Jesus? And they laughed. Some of them even threw stones at him. But then 50% of the people actually listened. And they were the ones who understood that there was something very special about this beautiful man. And they listened and they reflected upon his teachings. When Jesus was becoming stronger with purpose and his channeling grew and grew and grew, the other 50%, well, some of them, most of them came back. Some of them didn't, but quite a lot of them did. And they began to see what he was teaching. And they began to see how the words that he spoke was truthful. And then he showed them the light. And they all sat in meditation together. Just imagine the whole crowd. And he brought through a healing. And his healing was so great because his vibrational body expanded and it reached so many. And they felt the love from the Father. And yet they understood, you are from the light. You are from the light. And they saw it. They remembered it. And from that day onwards, the crowds grew and grew and grew. And then they began to pair themselves up and go to the household. The light is here. I've seen it for myself. You must come and join us. And so the crowd grew. They recognized the divine light. Now in this time, it's easier for you to recognize divine light because this part of the awakening has already happened. You're understanding about spiritual glory. You're understanding about spiritual truth. You know that angels are there. You know that other spiritual realms exist. There have been many channels before this one. And they celebrated the light with you. Look at the hard work that Cryon has done upon this plane with His channel. Look at that. Look how perfect everything is. Can you see the divine truth in all this? Can you see why it's perfect for this channel to rise at this time? Can you begin to understand its perfection, its timeliness? But when you can, you are wide awake. But again, it is the choice of the people. You can choose to say, it's too much for me. But when you're awake and when you're a light worker, we say then, and how else would you like the full light to return to your plane? How else would you like us to accelerate your learning then? Do you have a better suggestion? For there have been many light workers that have been crying out to the angelic realms, please let us climb up higher. There is so much confusion and separation here. We want to understand. We are opening up to these beautiful gifts, but we don't know how to bring peace and love upon this plane. There is no direct guidance here. We understand about the collective consciousness. We understand small parts. But is there some way that you can bring it together? And many light workers, friends, have been asking. And because the asking has been great, we have given you the answer. But are you accepting of the answer? Are you accepting of this? And again, it's your hearts that open to this. For we can only do our part. But you have such a great part to do. And when you listen to these words and when you begin to understand its perfection, then please begin to understand how important these teachings are that are coming up. Because it is the time now for higher awakenings, higher revelations. You are going to understand more about the divine plan, how everything is perfect. You are being able to be activated into higher sequences. Are you desiring this? And really, friends, when you say, I desire it, then it is also an action time. It is not only a time of, I believe in angels. I'd like to go to that show and see if it's real. I'm going to pick up a book over here and see if I'm psychic. I'm going to play here with my friends. This is a time of decision making. It's a time of saying, I'm ready, Lord. I'm ready to act. I'm ready to start these deeper activations. I'm ready to see the gifts within me. I'm ready to grow with the universe. I'm ready to step into higher alignment with divine will. And when you feel this, you will feel the calling. Because we are calling you. But if it wasn't for my faithful channel here, how else can I speak? I can't boom my voice from the skies, because my voice would be so loud it would be like thunder. And that to you couldn't make any sense. To be able to speak through a channel, friends, is incredibly hard work for us as divine beings. Because we need to put everything in segments. Right? Our time up there is great. Our thinking up there is so high. And we need to place everything in small little segments. And then we need to come to a channel, bring a vibration up so high and work with this channel. We've worked with this channel for many. If you knew how many lifetimes, you probably would walk out the door and say, that is not possible, my Lord. And yet we've done it. We have absolutely perfected it. And we're going to perfect it even more. And so we're bringing her vibration up so high. And even as I we're doing hard work. And then we bring those small little segments into her through the mind, and then we're using the voice. And everything has to be in sequence, and everything has to be in perfect sequence for it to come through. So her brain waves are incredibly high, and even though when you speak to her she'll say, I've got a simple mind, we will say she has an incredibly intelligent mind. So much so that we as divine beings can use that mind to speak to you. And that takes a highly evolved mind, a highly trained mind, and also a highly willing heart. She could have refused as well. Imagine if she had refused this, which she tried to many times. Then I, as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great, wouldn't be able to speak to you. And how else would I be able to speak? Because there is no other channel that I will work with. Not on this plane at this time. Because I've worked here so hard. It's such a complicated work that we do. It's so complex on so many levels, friends, to grow a channel like this. It's not ordinary channeling that she does. This is highly complex. So when I bring my messages through and others bring their messages through, we separate it into segments, and then we place it in her mind, goes through her energy layers into her mind, and then slowly we reveal it to you. So we have to slow everything down. Millions and millions and millions of times. To make sure that the human mind comprehends our higher thoughts. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful gift? So here you know a lot more about my divine purpose now as Sovereign Lord Emmanuel the Great. It is to bring you to ways of freedom. It is to bring you to ways of light and peace. And I have used sacred channels, all in the same line, to this plane and to many other planes, to bring the teachings of the great divine, my divine Father, the great divine source, which is so powerful, to mankind. But I can only do it, friends, through a channel that we have trained for a long, long time because of the power and the magnificence. And this channel needed to be completely unblemished to be able to do this work. So why has this been so important for you to hear? Well, because it, one, gives you more faith in the greatness of the universe. Number two, it helps you to awaken to what really is, and it helps you to comprehend more of the greatness and the glory of the greater universe. Number three, you're learning about the greatness of my channel, Jeshua, and how he was a man, and also about the humanness of Suzanna. For if Suzanna had been placed 2,000 years ago on the earth, the stories would have been very similar to what you're hearing a lot about Jeshua. But because you are living in this time and your comprehension is greater with your logical mind, and you're seeing the humanness here, you don't see the parallel. And yet, it's so great. To us, it is absolute perfection. We ask you to open your minds and open your hearts to it, and to see then what could be coming. What a beautiful, beautiful lesson this was. What a beautiful lesson this was for your hearts. For now we are preparing you for greater knowledge to come. We are preparing you for something that is so holy in the universe. But again, are you listening? Are you recognizing these divine times, friends? Are you seeing it? Can you see what is about to happen? Can you see the multitudes of people coming in to the light? And I will keep saying to Suzanna, Suzanna, get up. Keep channeling, no matter how hard it is, no matter how frustrated you get. Keep forgiving. Keep pushing forward. Keep going. Because the people need to hear and they need to understand the light. Because if they do not understand the light, then what are we going to do? And how great it is that you are living here in this greatness. So we thank you very, very much for being here in our beautiful presence. We thank you so much for your company. For in the company that you are and that you give to us, we will say to you how grand it is that we can open your heart to more greatness. For you're hearing it, and the hearts are stirring, and the hearts are remembering.